Okay, everybody, new Gods Knights just dropped, and let me tell you, this DLC keeps getting more insane. So the first pack, we had Gunko and Shamrock. Shamrock is already tearing up the competitive scene. You know what's going on with his 99-plus hit combo with that Cerberus move, okay? But now, we're introducing Killingham and Sommers. Sommers has an overdrive ability that lets him summon his entire living room set, all of the chests of his clothing and his chair, and it just drops it on the enemy, and it just is an instant KO. So this is going to completely change the meta of this game. I don't even know what the developers are thinking right now, but I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen with these new Gods Knights coming off of the conveyor belt, as it were. It's been a while since we had a One Piece fighting game, isn't it? Look, we've all talked before. One Piece video games aren't the best. The fighting games are probably the best ones out of that group. The other ones can just range from horrible to just eh. But you know what? We need to have a One Piece fighting game that's similar to Sparking Zero from Dragon Ball. What was it, like over 180 characters that were in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? Dude, you could easily have that many with One Piece characters. There's over 200 characters you could include in a video game. That's what I want. I'm not even that big of a fan of fighting games, okay? But I want to see a One Piece fighting game that has 200 plus characters. I want to play as Makino in a One Piece video game, right? Introduce everybody, all the Vegapunks and everybody, just random characters that you don't even care about. Just throw them all in this massive fighting game. What would you call it? What would you call that fighting game? Anyway, going on to talking about this, so we got Saint Sommers from the Shepherd family, and we got Saint Killingham, or Kiringham. I'm gonna call him Killingham, because that just sounds cool. It doesn't really fit his appearance. It's a really intimidating name, like, because, L's and R's in Japanese are pronounced very, very similar. It's also, fun fact, why L in Death Note, his name is Ryuzaki. He asks people to call him Ryuzaki, because L and R, and there you go. So it can be read as Killingham or Killingham. So yeah, but he's like kind of a goofy character, at least in his hybrid form. He just, popped in through the abyss, Not as goofy as Sommers when he was wearing his like boxers and stuff. That was also really funny. Yeah, we got them. And before we get into talking about their abilities and stuff, I want to talk about Sommers' powers, and maybe we could talk about that, maybe what he could have. I went through all of the families that we know so far that were members of the Celestial Dragons, like the original, they were 20 families originally. The Nefeltari family left. So there's 19 of these families living in Marijua. And we actually know quite a fair amount of them now. Out of the 20 families, we know for certain there's 11 of them. All right, so we have over half, and in fact, we can know more than that. So we have the Nefeltari family. They were part of the original 20, but they left. The Figarland family, the Don Quixote family, the Rimoshifu family, which is what Killingham is part of, the Shepherd family, Ethan Baron family, Topman family, Marcus family, Jay Garcia family, the Manmeyer family. We saw a member of the Manmeyer family during God Valley. Also, in the promotional stuff for the new One Piece live action season 2, we see a business at Logtown that is called Manmeyers. So that's actually a really cool little Easter egg they put in there. The Nerona family, which is, at least according to Cobra and Ivankov, Imu Nerona was one of the original founders of the world government. That doesn't mean this Emu is the same one or is just using their name, but there was a Nerona family at the beginning, okay? And so that's what we have there. So those are 11 families. We still do not know Roswald's family name, like Charlos and everybody. We don't know what their family name is. They might be part of the Jay Garcia family for all we know. We just don't know. We also have Jalmac, who is a world noble. He was the one that arrived at Dawn Island in the Goa Kingdom during the flashback with the Gray Terminal. He's the one that took out the bazooka and shot Sabo's little boat. And then we also have Pluming. Pluming showed up very briefly when the revolutionaries were attacking the Celestial Dragon City. Okay, and so we don't know, though. Pluming and Jalmac and Charlos, they could all be part of the same family, or they could, because we didn't think that Mulesguard was part of the Don Quixote family until it was revealed he was, because he doesn't really look like Doflamingo at all. So it's like, oh, really? He's a member of the Don Quixote family? I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's possible that those are doubling up a little bit there, but we know 11 for certain, and if Roswald's family, Jalmac, and Pluming are all part of separate families, then we've seen 14 so far. So that's pretty nuts right there. That's crazy. Okay, so let's talk about first, before we get to Sommers and Killingham, let's talk about Gunko really quick. All right, because there's been some interesting theories popping up about Gunko. I don't think Gunko is originally a member of the Celestial Dragons. Like, she was not born into this family, all right? And that, I think, is pretty much confirmed when she was talking to Loki, and she was mentioning that, you know, I am offering you the invitation to join the Celestial Dragons, to join the Gods Knights. All right, I'm offering someone from the lower realm to join the upper realm. This is the highest honor you could possibly be bestowed. And Loki rejected it over and over and over again. That got her more and more pissed off, all right? So that implies, yeah, there is some exceptions that are made. The, you know, members of the lower realm are brought into the Gods Knights, and if you're a member of the Gods Knights, you kind of outrank the Celestial Dragons. So there is a route to godhood, as it were, okay? And I'm thinking Gunko also took that route. All right, the way that she reacted to it seems to be that it was also something that she accepted, and now she wants Loki to accept it as well. This is a great honor. You need to accept this. And Loki's just like spits some blood. He just like, piss off. I'm not joining you assholes. And she's like, and then she like attacks Loki and stabs him a bunch of times, right? Now, maybe not. Maybe she is just a normal celestial dragon who was promoted to God Knight status, and she's just angry that anybody would dare not want to join. But I don't know. She seemed a little bit, it touched a nerve. It certainly seemed to be that way. There is a theory right now that's gaining some steam that Gunko is actually a former member of the Revolutionary Army that defected and joined the world government. I don't know. I have no idea. Other than the fact that Gunko has a hat that looks very similar to the standard, like, Oliver Twist-esque hats that the members of the Revolutionary Army wear. They all have hats with goggles. You know, Sabo has a hat with goggles. Koala has a hat with goggles. You know, like, Lindbergh has one. Bello Betty has one. Morley has one. Dragon does not, oddly enough. Maybe Dragon is actually a secret agent. He doesn't have a hat with goggles. That's how you know when Dragon gets serious. When it's time to actually invade Marijois, he puts on his hat. That's when it gets serious. I guess Ivankov doesn't either. Ivankov has a crown, though, so that outranks the goggles. But, you know, okay, let's say if Gunko really was promoted from the lower realm, I would imagine they would not do this with just any random person. I mean, the reason they're asking Loki to join, and there is a way to do this. I mean, they're asking Loki. Loki is not a celestial dragon, but they're asking him to join the Gods Knights. So this is a mechanism. This does work. This does happen occasionally. Probably not super often, but in the case with Loki, it is. So it's like, oh, special exception. You're really powerful, and you're a giant, and if you join us, we might be able to bring the giants to heel if you are a member of the Gods Knights, right? That's the reason why they would want Loki. Gunko joining, if she was a former member of the Revolutionary Army, dude, what if it's a situation where the revolution was actually gaining some speed and they were actually about to do their big moment, like they invade Marijois, you know, because Dragon has been running this organization for like almost 30 years now. You'd think it would be time to start the revolution already. Well, what happened if like Gunko left, defected to the world government, or if she was always a traitor and she was like constantly feeding information to the Gods Knights and the Gorosei or whatever, and then it turns out that the revolution had to be postponed, like Dragon and everybody found out about it, and they're like, Gunko, how dare you betray us? And she's like, I just always wanted to eat fabulous food in the Celestial Dragon City. I was always a part of that dragon. You knew that I was. They gave me this really cool arrow ability, right? And it's like, no, Gunko, why? And then she left, and they had to, you know, hold back the revolution because it's like they know what we're going to do. Maybe they caught on to it right at the right amount of time for them to back off, and so they didn't get wiped out. Like if they would have dived right into this plan, they would have got annihilated because Gunko was a traitor, right? So for everybody out there saying that Dragon does nothing but stare off into the east, maybe he was about to do something a few years ago, but like something went down. I'm not really sure about that, right? Something else, in the chapter where Shamrock was introduced, they had the title boxes. Gunko did not have the saint in front of her name, but Shamrock did not either. So that makes me think that that might have been more of an error on Oda's part, because I can't think of any reason. I can think of a reason why Gunko might not have the saint prefix. Shamrock definitely should. All right, even if you want to say it's like, well, Shamrock, he's not a saint anymore because he's Shanks' brother and Shanks left, so therefore he was downgraded. I don't think that makes any sense. Shamrock is a commander of the Gods Knights. He is higher ranked than all the other Gods Knights except for Garling, who's the supreme commander. He's clearly a Tenryubito that chose to live in the city. He should have the saint prefix. All right, so maybe it's just an error on Oda's part. Not really sure. All right, so talking about Killingham, all right? He is a Kirin from what we've seen so far, okay? He's an awakened Kirin user. Couple of things that he should be able to do in this form, if we're just going along the lines of mythical zones. By the way, I think there are now more mythical zones than Logias in the story, because we got the Cerberus one and the Kirin one just now, okay? So I think there are more Logias, even if you don't include the Gorosei, but I'd have to go back and check. So Killingham should be able to fly, whether you say it's an application of Geppo or something like that beyond that, because he's literally able, like Kirins are able to fly through the sky, and there's the whole idea of the clouds that was introduced with like Momonosuke and Kaido's dragon zones. Maybe they're not the only zones that can manipulate the floating clouds. I feel like Kirin should be able to just straight up fly in some way. Control fire, that was something we've talked about. He's holding that crazy, weird-looking trident thing. Probably just light that thing on fire and, like, throw and stab at people and stuff like that. So, devastating attack powers, sure. The fire might have magical properties similar to Marco's. But here's another thing about the Kirin that's interesting. A lot of times they are used to symbolize purity or, like, purification of various things. And it's interesting that he's a member of the Gods Knights and in this incredibly corrupt system, literally was summoned to Elbaf through this creepy pentagram circle with black lightning and smoke billowing out of it. I mean, like, there's some parallels here for sure. I mean, like, even the idea that you could say that Shamrock, who is a celestial dragon, his ability is he has a sword, which is Cerberus, which is the guardian of the underworld. So I don't know if, Oda's going to go anything to it beyond just the symbolism of, like, they act as gods, but they are really down in the dirt, or something like that. Or there's a flip with Killingham's ability there. But he might have the ability to, like, dude, so if it is some kind of like purification ability, how would that apply to like a devil fruit power, right? Because I'm picturing it like actually kind of similar to a way of Marco's healing ability, just way better. Where like let's say something happens where Gunko gets really injured or something, and she's like really messed up, like because you think of all the people that they're gonna fight some people soon. Like Shamrock apparently is going back to Marijois, but we have Sommers, Killingham, and Gunko there, and they're going to all attack the school. And so Frankie and Robin and Chopper and Ripley and Saul. I also forgot Lilith and Bonnie are still there as well. Bonnie can fight. She can go into her, Nika form and everything like that, so she can fight, right? So what if they all start fighting, and what if something crazy happens, like Frankie squaring up against Gunko. Gunko is, like, embarrassed by Frankie being in his Speedo. Frankie pulls out a rocket launcher, shoots it at her. She gets, like, really a lot of damage from that, and then Killingham is just like, oh, Gunko, you gotta focus more, and just instant heal. Here's the reason I'm saying this, is because if you go back and look at all of the different times that Charlos got punched in the face, and I recommend you do because they're very funny, especially that last one where Sai and Leo just pounded him into the ground like a pancake. Like, literally, his body turned into a pancake. And even other celestial dragons were like, he's dead. There's no way he's not dead. He's not dead. He's still alive. So, like, I was originally assuming that, like, oh, what if, it makes sense that in Marijois they would have the best doctors in the entire world. And we've seen doctors being capable of doing insane things, like, when Wapple got decapitated, they just pasted his head or nailed his head back on with, like, the steel plates or whatever. So, that was maybe more for a joke, but you could see, like, the best doctors in the world being at Marijois, being able to fix him. Or Another option is, what if they just have a really powerful devil fruit? It might be Killingham's devil fruit. It can't be the heal fruit because that's being used by Mancherry. Maybe there could be another paramecia that does something similar. Maybe there's an upgraded version of the heal fruit. The only other option, though, if it's not a paramecia, I don't really see Logia working. So it would have to be a mythical Zoan that allows you to instantly heal people, even more so than Marco's ability. And a Kirin having that power, it's not crazy. It's not absurd. You know, purification could also look in more of a sense of like disease or something, you know, like, so maybe that's why none of the celestial dragons get sick, is because they have this ability that Killingham can just like take somebody and just purge all of the toxins or whatever out of somebody. And you know, it could be powers like that, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, like, you could just have him, he like, goes to a body of water and purifies a body of water or something. Like, maybe it could be used like that as well. But, like, an application to, like, for another person, like, instantly heal them. I mean, look, we're getting into this final saga now. The God's Knights are really, really powerful. So having a God's Knight that has a broken, like, auto-heal ability or, like, Phoenix Down ability or whatever, it's like, that's not crazy. That's not absurd to me, all right? And we've seen this before in other anime and other works of fiction, a character that can just, like, instantly heal another character. They could still be taken out. You just got to be, you know, you got to be clever with it. You got to know how it works, right? Okay? Look at Josuke. Josuke had an instant heal ability. The one catch is he couldn't use it on himself. So maybe that's the exception with Killingham. Maybe he can't purify himself or heal himself, but he can only do it to others. There's a way around this to not make it insanely broken, but still really, really powerful, you know? Okay, so now getting to Sommers, though. This is interesting. This is more of an up-in-the-air question because we just don't know, right? What do we know about Sommers so far? Okay, we know he has a nice chair in his living room. We know he wears boxers with little hearts on them. And we know his military uniform that he dons. Oh, by the way, side note, Killingham had an armband that is probably the sigil of the God's Knights. We couldn't see it super clearly. You could kind of make out the shape. I think it kind of resembles like the Cairo a little bit from like the Byzantine Empire, so maybe that's what maybe Oda's going for. But yeah, the God's Knights do have a symbol. It'd be cool to see that in like higher detail later. But at any rate, we see Sommers putting on his military uniform, and he seems like a very distinguished gentleman, you know? He seems to have like a bunch of medals and buttons and things pinned to it, like more so than Shamrock does and Killingham does. And he's an older dude. He's in the Shepherd family. He might in fact be Shepherd Jupiter's like son or grandson. It's just that, you know, Jupiter is immortal and he doesn't age because of the power of the power of Emu giving the Gorosei that ability. But anyway, we do know a couple of things though. We know he has a rose, you know, placed on his like lapel here. And we know he has a sword, and the sword's guard, it's a very similar sword to Shanks and Rogers and Shamrock's blades, like a saber that has like that hand guard thing. But his is unique in that it has like thorns coming out of the hand guard, okay? Also, I just kind of realized this, but his name is Sommers. Now, you could, like, spell that different ways. I've seen it spelled, like, S-O-M-M-E-R-Z or S-U-M-M-E-R-S, you know. But, you know, Sommers, summer, like the season summer, like, that might also be a reference. So I'm looking at Sommers here, right? And I'm thinking, number one, he looks a lot like Jeff Bridges from The Big Lebowski. But also, his Devil Fruit ability is screaming nature to me. Like something nature-based. Like he's got the rose, he's got the thorns, his name is Sommers. I'm like, okay, no, there's some Feywild nature shit going on here. Like I'm calling it now. Now, we already have the Mori Mori no Mi, the forest Logia used by Aramaki, Green Bull. So that's out, okay? You know how Robin has the Hana Hana no Mi? Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. What if Sommers has the actual flower fruit? I don't know what it would be called because Robin's is literally called the flower fruit, the Hana Hana no Mi. She's able to bloom her limbs, her body parts as flowers, but she can't actually control flowers. Sometimes for dramatic effect, you'll see like, flower petals like blooming out of various locations that her arm or her foot appears, when she makes like the Gigantoso Mano, like the giant legs appear and like flowers are everywhere. And apparently in the SBS, she smells like flowers because of her ability. But Robin cannot control like flowers in nature, okay? What if Sommers could? What if that is the ability? It might just be called like the rose fruit, because there does seem to be like a rose motif here, okay? Or the thorn fruit or something. But the ability is he controls flowers and thorns and vines. So not on the level of it honestly actually could be the downgraded form of the Mori Mori no Mi, because it is a Logia, right? So just like we had the Yuki Yuki no Mi wielded by Monet, I'll be discussing hers very soon in the Devil Fruit series, and then we had Aokiji's, the Hia Hia no Mi, the Chili Fruit. It was mentioned that, yeah, those are two Logias that are the upgraded and downgraded versions. Same thing with the Magu Magu and the Mera Mera, okay, with Akainu and then Aces and Sabos fruits, okay? So it's possible. Aramaki could have the Forest Logia, and then Sommers could have just the Rose Logia, or the Vine Logia, or something of that nature, okay? Another direction we could go, because there seems to be a theme of mythical zones happening here, except for Gunko. That's the thing. Maybe Gunko is the outlying factor, because she is not originally a celestial dragon. She doesn't have a mythical zone, okay? She has a paramecia. She has the Arrow no Mi. But Killingham has a mythical zone. Shamrock, his sword at least, has a mythical zone. So we have a Kirin and we have a Cerberus, okay? Or Cerberus. All right. What if Sommers' sword also has a Zoan, and it's like a dryad or something? It's like a fae creature, some kind of pixie or wood nymph or something that can, like, he takes out his sword and it transforms into a sexy dryad that can manipulate thorns and vines and flowers and nature and that kind of stuff. That would sort of have like similar abilities as Aramaki, with it being something different and unique, because that's like the whole point of the mythical zones. You can turn into an animal or some mythical creature, and it also gives you an added paramecia effect. That's why it's like, it's basically two devil fruits in one, essentially, is what you get with a mythical zone. So yeah. Or, I mean, are dryads typically can they ever be depicted as men? Because Sommers is a dude. It would be really funny. Oh, dude, that would actually be really funny if Sommers activated his devil fruit like, I have the mythical Zoan model dryad. And he goes into like a Sailor Moon-esque transformation sequence, but he's still like an old dude that just gets like flowers for hair and vine, like a cool vine outfit. It's just like, he's an old dude, but he's like, I am a dryad, let's go. Or just the sword transforms into the sexy dryad, like a typical dryad you would see in like D&D or something like that. Those are some options on the table for Sommers. I'm liking each and every one of those. So let's see where we go with that. But I'm thinking it's definitely some kind of like nature flower, thorn-based devil fruit. And if we're going with like, hey, this would be really funny if most of the Gods Knights had like, hey, I don't want to have a devil fruit ability because I want to still be able to swim. Just give it to my weapon instead. It would be weird if Shamrock was the only one in the Gods Knights that has the sword that has the devil fruit. I would imagine other Gods Knights would want to do that too, right? I would imagine Sommers would be like, yeah, I want to be able to swim as well. Give the devil fruit to my sword. I don't want to have that, downside. Maybe that's the reason that Spondum wanted Funkfried. Spondum was like, hey, I want to be like the Gods Knights too. I hear they have cool mythical zone swords. I want an elephant sword, right? It's possible. You can see that. You can see where that's going there. Like, obviously, Killingham, he has the mythical zone himself. Gunko has the ability herself. Yeah, those are some ideas there. So, which new Gods Knights do you think are going to be released next in the DLC? And how broken are they going to be? And what are their devil fruits going to be? Also, Dryad is like a Greek myth, right? I'm pretty sure it's Greek originally. So that kind of goes along with the whole Cerberus thing as well. If we're going along with those kind of like that theme, you know, it's like mythical creatures from all over, you know. In the case with Wano, the mythical zones that we saw were all like somewhat based in Eastern mythology and lore, you know, like the Chinese dragon that Kaido could turn into, and the Wan Yudo and everything like that. No, the Wan Yudo, no. The Wan Yudo was used by Black Maria, but that wasn't actually a Wan Yudo. It was, I think, a Smile user that had the Pug Zone. I think it was that. What did Gyukimaru transform into? It was something that was like a human-based yokai. Hold on, let me look that up really quick. Onyudo, that was it. Not a Wan Yudo, an Onyudo. That was Onimaru or Gyukimaru's Devil Fruit ability. Okay. But yeah, those are all based in like Eastern lore. And to be fair, the Kirin is based in Eastern lore as well. It's a myth that appears in Chinese and Korean and Japanese mythology. But then the Cerberus is obviously Greek. And then if Sommers' sword or Sommers himself could turn into a dryad, that would also be Greek. So yeah, we'd see where Oda's going with this. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry. Oh, Bell's here too. Huh. Didn't see you there, Bell. Don't know why you were here on this discussion of the Gods Nights. Later, everybody.